Welcome to 10 Minutes With. It's a podcast for people who want to listen to podcasts but don't have all day. We've got a quick chat with someone you might be interested in learning more about in about 10 minutes. If a fresh version of the Christmas classic, I Heard the Bells, has caught your ear on Family Life, it was probably from Christian Anderson Band. That song's music video, by the way, which comes up in today's conversation, is linked in the description. Christian describes himself as a 28-year-old cancer survivor, and he's got a passion to see God's love lift hearts through the Creator's gift of creativity. Let's meet Christian Anderson. I like to get this kind of picture of people sometimes, to think about them as a kid. I'm wondering, Christian, what is a trait of yours that somebody who knew 7-year-old Christian would not be surprised by at all?
I've always been a little over the top. I love dressing up as a little kid, and we've got video clips of me dressed up as like Superman all the time. And even, with performing on stage, like very inspired by bands like For King and Country, who really put on a big show. They love to dress up and everything. Yeah, very theatrical background, inspired by superheroes.
I love that. Well, and there's such a cinematic element too with I Heard the Bells. I mean, like this, taking us back to like the Civil War, like with the rooted history of when that song was written, which is just a whole beautiful thing by itself too, by the way. Just speaking of that song, I Heard the Bells, and the fact that like there is a story to it. But even just for the purposes of life, I mean, it's really about choosing to have faith in God in a dark world, sometimes just in the dark stuff life throws our way. What does that song mean for you right now in this Christmas season?
I mean, it's kind of exactly what you said, where how could you possibly see hope or peace on earth or goodness especially when you're in a season surrounded by, negativity or setbacks? Sometimes it can feel like we're in seasons of being surrounded by a culture or by a community that's like not feeding us that peace that we're looking for. And it's like, God, everybody's singing peace on earth, but I don't see it. You can see that with war. You can see that with racism and slavery back in that day. And, we just kind of touched on that a little bit, like in that music video. For me personally, I think it just means choosing to believe and have faith that God has a plan for everything, even though you're in the darkest spot in your life.
I know that each one of us can plug in our own journey into what you just said. Like if you've walked with Jesus for any amount of time, that's probably something you've known. I know that in the last year has been a really hard time with a tough diagnosis. I'm just wondering if you can help me understand your journey.
Yeah. So February this year of 2025, I was diagnosed with metastatic papillary thyroid cancer. And it was just the most unexpected call. Like, we had found a little bump on the side of my neck. We ended up realizing it was a lymph node, and it was just kind of getting bigger and bigger every year. And one year it had shrunk, and my doctor was like, hey, great news. This isn't cancer or anything, because cancer can't shrink. And I was like, well, that's good. I'm not worried. And my ENT, of all people, ended up calling me one night after they stuck a needle in my neck to just kind of test it. She was like, hey, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but you have, cancer. And it's thyroid cancer, actually. And I remember the first thoughts going through my head was, did I live a good life? Because when you hear the word cancer, it's like, how long do I have to live? That's like the first question in my mind. I just remember kind of going upstairs to take like I need to wash this moment off type of shower and process this. And I was like, did I live a good life? And I was just like starting to doubt and think about all the time. It was kind of like, it was almost like a check. Like God had put me through what we're all going to experience, at the end when we get to the gates of heaven. And it's like, you hear about people seeing their whole life flash before them. And it felt like that. And it felt like a reminder that, hey, life is super short. The craziest part is I had written a song, and the lyrics to the chorus, I haven't released this yet. I'm still getting ready to release it soon in 2026. Might end up releasing it on the same exact day that I was diagnosed. Who knows? But the song is called I Still Have My Faith. And it had nothing to do with cancer. I'd written it about my struggles, my hardships, my financial setbacks through my journey making Christian music, and everything I've gone through to get where I am. And it was kind of my Job story. That's what I called it. For me personally, it's like, this is my Christian story. That's one of the lyrics in the song. And it was, strip it all away and I still have my faith. That's the line in the chorus. It was almost like mocking Satan and standing in faith that, hey, no matter what Satan tries to do or take away from me, like God has me and he's holding me in his hand and he's going to get me through this as long as I keep my faith in him. And so that was that line, strip it all away and I still have my faith. And the next line is put me to the test. My God will prove the rest. And I just remember I was reading through the book of Job with my girlfriend and man, that's just a tough book to read through, but it kept me grounded during that time, not knowing where my life was going to go with this cancer journey and how long I had. But I remember looking at the song that I'd written this whole song and then being told I was diagnosed with cancer. I told my girlfriend, I told my family, I don't know if I can release that song because it's such a bold claim that no matter what happens, I'm going to have all my faith in God. I'm going to put all my chips on God. And it just ended up being like my anthem through that whole time. No matter what happens, I still have my faith. And so music has just been such a powerful tool for me, you know, having something to write. But I believe as long as we give it to God, God has the power to create prophetic messages through what we say and through our own music too. And for me, that was a prophetic message and something that's just kept me going, you know.
There's something about when you've created something, and I can only understand this just in the tiniest way. I can't imagine with what you've been through. When you've created something and it's personal, letting go of it by releasing it is a whole other part of the creative process. But man, I've got to wonder if, I mean, it's been your anthem. I'm excited to see what God might have to do through that song when it's somebody else's anthem too. What's something we overlook about what Christians can do with creative gifts?
I've seen so many people not believe that they have gifts or they have talents and that they can do powerful things with those when they give it to God. Like the most unlimited potential is tapped into when you give that to God because he created you, he purposed you, and he gave you those gifts. Yeah, for music, that's something I recognize. Even though I wanted to be an actor my whole life, it was like I recognized music was a gift that came naturally and it was something I felt pulled into. And I remember listening to, it was a motivational speech and this guy was saying, the thing that you're meant to do in life isn't what you have to push yourself to do. It's what is pulling you.
Ooh.
And I was like, I don't know how to explain it, but I'll write a song. Someone will tell me, hey, that was the best Christmas gift I've ever received. And, you know, it's just a personal song I wrote for somebody, but it meant the world to them. You know, the way that I can encourage somebody through a song, you can do that same thing just with a positive message to somebody, just from sending someone a text. It can look like anything, you know what I mean? But I believe in the power of the prophetic. I believe the prophetic still is alive today. Music is just a great way for God to speak to others if we allow him to use it.
They always say when you meet somebody's parents, you go like, oh, okay, I get it now. Can you tell me a little bit about your parents?
Actually, I don't know how unique. I guess a lot of musicians, I was looking up people like Phil Wickham and other artists, and I guess we're all PKs, you know, pastor's kid.
Yeah.
So, yeah, growing up, my dad, he was a pastor. My mom, worship leader. And I always wonder if that's like a rigged system. I'm like, everywhere we would go, my dad's like, you're going to be the worship leader here. He's saying that to my mom, right? I didn't really have like the closest, most personal relationship with Jesus. I didn't really know who he was kind of until I would say 8th grade, where I went to a conference, a big conference. I just felt God speak to me. And I was trying to be cool. If there's any kids listening to this, man, I thought being cool was like the most important thing ever in junior high. I was bullying other kids to like try to be cool and be friends with all the cool kids. And I just felt like God spoke to me at that conference. I felt freedom to be who he called me to be and be like, man, don't worry about what anybody else thinks of you. Love everybody. Just love on everybody and like share my love with them. And that's where I just felt Jesus personally in my life, you know, like I felt the power of his love and how it lifts other people up. And then from there, man, like that's just kind of where my faith journey started, and all throughout high school. Ended up being my first semester in college, and I was like, man, this can really impact people. It's really encouraging people. I want to take this seriously. And I just gave it to God. I remember hitting a button, dropping all my classes, and there's this crazy feeling of the unknown, but freedom. And I feel like God calls everybody in some season of their life to a moment like that, where they're just like stepping out on the water. And it's like, can I walk on water? It's not about can I walk on water. It's about can I get to you, Jesus? As long as you keep your eyes on him, of course he can walk on the water, because it's just about getting to him.
What would be the best way that you'd want people to check out what you're doing?
Yeah, if you want to listen to my music, if you want to support my journey, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok are the social media platforms that I'm on. And my name is Christian Anderson Band. And then I'm under the same artist name on all music platforms. So if you want to listen on Amazon, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, wherever, just look up Christian Anderson Band. And we're in Christmas season, so I just released my new song, O Come Emmanuel Gloria. That's my version of O Come Emmanuel. And I heard the bells is like everybody's favorite song that I released from last year. So yeah, I just encourage you to check that out during this Christmas season.
If you've enjoyed this episode of 10 Minutes With, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. You might also consider giving to Family Life, the listener-funded ministry that makes this and other podcasts possible. Go to familylife.org and find out more about what we do. Did you know Family Life offers a variety of podcasts? Get up to date with Family Life news or enjoy some family time with Family Life Kids. There's If That Makes Sense, a Family Life original podcast talking about what life is really like as a young adult Christian, and Therese Talk, a podcast with help for women to better serve their families and community. They are all free and on demand at familylife.org/podcast.